Hello and welcome to Middle Eastern Thursday. So guys, I am so excited because as most of you I'm sure know, this is my second video after being away for over a month, closer to 2 months. But just yesterday, I did share with you some of my life update and some of what's been going on with me. So if you did not catch that video, I'll be sure to link it right here for you. And don't miss it because in that video, I also share with you the one fragrance that I consider to be the best launch of 2024 so far. Please do not miss that. But anyway, in today's video, I have for you 5 Middle Eastern fragrances, guys, that I've had the opportunity to really wear and test during that break time. And today, of course, I'm ready to give you all of the juicy details. Some of these fragrances have been quite viral, and others I'm not sure that I've heard many people talk about. But what I can tell you is that all of these fragrances I consider to be very good fragrances that perform really well, some better than others. And I think that they're all fragrances that will transition you very nicely from the warmer weather months into the fall season. But before we jump right in, if this is your first time here, I'm Arahi and I'm your fragrance concierge because I'm totally committed to creating the best fragrance experience for you. In this channel, we talk about all things fragrance, whether it's Middle Eastern fragrances, Western niche fragrances, designer, affordable, body care, scented body care. We just love to talk about fragrances. So I also upload videos 4 times a week. Sometimes you even get a bonus video. And if that sounds like the type of content that you're interested in, and like a good plan, then please consider subscribing, give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget, leave a comment. Let's go. All right, guys. So first of all of these fragrances, I think for the most part, are Paris Corner, and they were all sent to me. So I want to thank the Paris Corner team for sending them. So the first fragrance that I want to discuss with you today is from the Ophidian collection from Paris Corner, and this one is called Mango Bliss. And of course, as the name says it, this is a mango-centric fragrance. But let me go ahead and share with you the notes before we jump into the details. But before we even do that, I did want to tell you, which I'm sure you know because I know there's been a ton of reviews on this collection. There are 3 fragrances as part of this collection. It's Mango Bliss, Black Cherry, and Sweet Surrender. I only really like Mango Bliss and Black Cherry. I did not bring Sweet Surrender because I'm really not into that fragrance much. But let me know if you need me to still talk about that fragrance, and I'll do so in another video. But let's focus on Mango Bliss for now. So the notes for Mango Bliss are, at the top we have mango, ginger, lemon, and red berries. In the mid we have woody notes, coumarin, and jasmine. And at the base we have musk, amber, oud, cypriol oil. So this fragrance is a fragrance that I really do enjoy. But before I even say that, one thing that I do not like about these bottles, which I do like the bottle, I'm not much into snakes, but I do enjoy the bottle. But what I don't like is the cap because it is so hard to close the fragrance. I don't know, do you struggle with the cap? It's like I really have to press hard in order to get it on. But anyway. So the thing about Mango Bliss, and the reason I really do enjoy and like this fragrance and recommend it, is because I have many mango fragrances in my collection. You guys know that I love the note of mango, but this is a very different mango fragrance. This is not like every other mango fragrance. And before you even ask, is this fragrance similar to, let's say, Mango Kiss or the Stefan Humbert Lucas fragrance or any other mango fragrance that I have in my collection? No, guys, honestly, I don't think that this fragrance, I'm pretty sure this was not really inspired by anything because I don't even recognize this fragrance as a twist to another fragrance that I may have in my collection. This is a very unique mango fragrance. I can tell you that it is truly mango centric, but at that, You can clearly pick up the spiciness in the fragrance, and you can also pick up quite a bit of the note of lemon. So you have to enjoy a lemon note, and one that's not very sweet at that, in order to really enjoy this fragrance. This fragrance, as to be expected, is very fruity, but it's also woody, and it has a touch of like freshness to it, and it is a musk based fragrance. Definitely has some oud, but in the oud meter of 1 to 5, with 1 being the least amount of oud that you could pick up and 5 being the most, I would say that this is definitely a 1, because the oud, at least to my nose, is quite negligible, and the oud that I pick up is also very, very smooth. This is a fragrance that you can pull off any season of the year, including summer, because of that underlying freshness brought in by the lemon and that fruitiness. It just gives it a good spin. But something that I did want to let you know about this fragrance is that this is truly a unisex fragrance. This is not your typical mango, fruity, unisex, leaning to the feminine side kind of mango fragrance. No, this is truly a unisex, leaning to the male side type of fragrance. So for those gentlemen that have been waiting for a mango fragrance that does not lean at all to the feminine side, this is a fragrance for you. But ladies, please, if you haven't gotten your nose on this one, you may want to try it, because it may surprise you. I don't think that this is a crowd pleaser, but this is definitely a fragrance that will be enjoyed by many. As far as performance, this is a fragrance that will get you a full day wear. This is not a beast, so you're not going to get 10 to 12 hours from it, but it will give you a good solid 7 to 8 hours without a problem. It does have a strong projection on my skin during the first hour, hour and a half at the most, and then it goes into a bit of a scent bubble, and then an hour after that, it does become a skin scent. But this is the type of fragrance that will give you whiffs of the fragrance all throughout the day. So the next fragrance that I have for you is also from that Ophidian collection, but this one is Black Cherry. And oh my goodness, guys, this one is my favorite. Absolutely. This is such an incredible cherry fragrance, because you guys know that I love a good cherry note fragrance, and I've shared so many cherry fragrances here on the channel throughout the time. I mean, I've shared quite a number of niche cherry fragrances that I absolutely love. Some of them being like Duchessa from Gritty, and also Bodacious from Bodacia the Victorious, and Tom Ford. You know, there's just a lot of cherry fragrances on the niche side, and also on the Middle Eastern side that I've shared with you. So I do love and enjoy a good note of cherry. But this fragrance is exquisite. The cherry here is a very dark black cherry that also has a bit of smokiness to it. Now, I have heard some people say that this is supposed to be inspired by Kayali's Love Cherry Burning Fest. I think it's called, it's Love Fest Burning Cherry. Well, in my opinion, and I do not own that fragrance, I actually had a small decant of that fragrance because I considered picking it up when it first came out, but then I never came around to it. It's not that I dislike the fragrance, but it just didn't do much for me. But this fragrance to me is not that fragrance at all, because if I recall correctly, there's a floral quality to the Kayali cherry fragrance, and there's also a bit of like nuttiness to the Kayali fragrance that I really, at least to my nose, I'm not picking that up in this fragrance whatsoever. This fragrance is all about the cherry exclusively, very cherry centric, and the cherry is here to stay all throughout the olfactory journey and at the dry down. So in this fragrance, you find the notes of burning cherry. They actually said burning cherry, but burning cherry, raspberry, bergamot, palo santo, tonka bean, and gaiac wood. And I can tell you that what I do pick up in this fragrance is quite a bit of cherry with a tinge of woodiness. It is a very beautiful fragrance because the cherry is quite juicy. It is a very present cherry, and it does have a tad of smokiness to it, which makes it kind of like a dark fragrance that is also kind of sexy and alluring. But at that, it's interesting because while this is not a fragrance that I would pull for daytime occasions, it is one that I do recommend for late afternoons into the evening and absolutely late night. Because as I said, it does border on being quite a sexy fragrance. As far as the oud meter on this one, I would say that the oud that I pick up here is like a level 2 from that 1 to 5 oud meter. I would say it's like a 2 because it's a very smooth oud, and at least to my nose, you don't always pick up on the oud, especially in the opening. The oud doesn't appear immediately. It's kind of like midway through the olfactory journey, and then at dry down, you are going to get that little bit of oud. But to my nose, it's no more than like a level 2 in our oud meter. This is also a fragrance that I think is most appropriate for 30 plus. A 25-year-old and over could definitely get away with this, but I think it's best suited for a more mature group because, again, it is a fragrance that does have quite a bit of darkness to it. At least that's what I pick up from it. This fragrance has absolutely no performance issues, guys, because I can tell you that this is a fragrance that, while not being a beast on my skin, it does get me easy a full day wear. So that would be like a full 8-hour day, and sometimes even a bit more depending on if I overspray or not. If I just do a regular spray, it will get me a full day wear, and it has a very strong projection during the first 2 hours, and it does have a moderate sillage. This is not a fragrance that has secured me compliments, which, by the way, I did forget to mention that with Mango Bliss, because with Mango Bliss, I did get one compliment, but I have never received a compliment with this one, and I have worn it several times. But nonetheless, it is a fragrance that I enjoy quite a bit, and I just love the way that they've done the cherry in this fragrance. Have you tried this fragrance? What do you think about it? So the next fragrance that I want to share with you is from Maison Asrar, and it is Soiree. Now, this is a fragrance that has caused a bit of controversy within the fragrance community because it's supposed to be inspired by Maison Mataha's Escapade Gourmand, which is a fragrance that most of us absolutely love. You know, I do own that fragrance and I do love it very much. It is truly a gourmand fragrance, and it is the most delightful vanilla gourmand, one of the best in my entire niche collection. And I can tell you that to me, Soiree is really not Escapade Gourmand at all whatsoever, but let's talk more about it. So this is a fragrance that opens up quite sweet. And you know, when I sniff this fragrance directly from the bottle, it does give me Escapade Gourmand, right? But the curious thing about this fragrance is that when you spray it on skin, it does not open with that Escapade Gourmand smell. When I first received it and I sprayed it out like I do with most Middle Eastern fragrances, then I let it sit for about a week, and then I tried it again. When I sprayed it in the opening, it did not give me Escapade Gourmand. It gave me a slight twist on Escapade Gourmand. I mean, not to be bad or anything, but it did smell like maybe like a watered down version of Escapade Gourmand, but definitely not the level of richness and intensity that you get from Escapade Gourmand. Nonetheless, it was a very lovely fragrance, just not Escapade Gourmand. So let me share with you the notes of this one. So at the top, we have vanilla blossoms and praline, plum, toffee, and apple. In the mid, we have white flowers, ylang ylang, heliotrope blossoms, lavender blossoms, and then at the base, we have vanilla wood, ambergris, and caramel. So these notes are not the notes of Escapade Gourmand, but there are parts of the olfactory journey where, to my nose, there is not a close resemblance, but there are strong similarities to Escapade Gourmand. But at the dry down, I'm not getting Escapade Gourmand at all. I'm not even getting like a diluted version of it. I'm getting a totally different fragrance, which I can't even say is a twist to Escapade Gourmand. So, for the purposes of this discussion, I just want to review and share with you what I have discovered about this fragrance without continuously comparing it to Escapade Gourmand, because to me, this, at least to my nose, is not even a twist to Escapade Gourmand. So this is a fragrance that opens up quite sweet, and it does have quite a bit of vanilla. As I said earlier in the opening, I do get, like when I sniff it from the bottle, I do get a bit of vanilla, similar to what you get from Escapade Gourmand, but it's not exactly the same. I can also clearly pick up on some yellow florals and some white florals, and definitely the caramel. But all in all, what I really pick up throughout the entire journey is that sweetness coming from the vanilla mixed with the florals and a tad of fruitiness. Then at the dry down, at least on my skin, it does become a bit animalic without losing part of the freshness that I pick up all throughout the olfactory journey. And I shouldn't say freshness, it's a bit airier than, what you would think a vanilla fragrance would be. So it's a vanilla fragrance that doesn't have a dense feel to it. It's more of an airy type of vanilla fragrance. To me, this is definitely a feminine fragrance, and I pick up absolutely no oud in this fragrance. And I do think it is best suited for 25 plus. This is a fragrance that you can pull off all throughout the year. I would just caution during a very, very hot summer day. Otherwise, I think you can pull it off any time of the year, any occasion, day or night. Some people may argue that this is best suited for like fall and winter, and I must say that I do agree with that. But again, if you wanted to pull it off all throughout the year, I don't think it would be a problem. I would be cautious on a very hot summer day, because I think it may become a bit stifling. This fragrance has no performance issues. It is not a beast mode fragrance, but it is a fragrance that will give you 7 to 8 hours within a day. And it does have a strong projection during the first hour on my skin, and then it does become a skin scent, but it's a pretty strong skin scent. The type that you'll smell the fragrance on yourself all throughout the day. All in all, I really enjoy this fragrance. I really liked it from the moment that I first sniffed it, like when I first tried it on skin. I really did like it. Again, in the opening, sniffing it from the bottle, not on my skin, I do get some memories, some faint similarities to Escapade Gourmand, but this is not a fragrance that I would say, hey, if you pick this up, you're going to have something very similar to Escapade Gourmand. I just really don't see that. But standing on its own, this is a very lovely fragrance. I think it will be quite a crowd pleaser, and if you're into vanilla, I really doubt that you will not like this fragrance. But let me know, because maybe on someone else's skin it does give more of an Escapade Gourmand type of vibe, but just not on mine. I think that this is a very, very nice vanilla fragrance that most people will absolutely enjoy. So the next fragrance that I want to share with you is also from Paris Corner, and it is called Ibisco Nirvana. Now, this is a fragrance that I have not seen anybody talk about, and it is an incredibly beautiful fragrance. So this fragrance is all about the hibiscus flower. But before you ask me if this was inspired by hibiscus mahajat from Maison Asrar, I'm going to tell you right now that to my nose, absolutely not. These are two very, very different fragrances. Let me share with you the notes of this one. So at the top we have lime, mint leaves, black currant. In the middle we have hibiscus, geranium, rose and cinnamon, and at the base we have vanilla, leather, amber, and musk. This fragrance to me, guys, without a shadow of a doubt, is all about the hibiscus. If you love the scent of a hibiscus flower in full bloom when it's fully open, you are going to love this fragrance, because That's what I get from this fragrance. So in my grandmother's house in the garden, she used to have a ton of hibiscus bushes. And I distinctively just remember that garden as soon as I smell this fragrance, because this fragrance is all about hibiscus. There's also a bit of warm spiciness to it coming from the note of cinnamon, but at the end of the day, this fragrance is all about hibiscus. So you have to enjoy that flower in order to really appreciate this fragrance. The fragrance is also quite ambery, and it does have a pretty strong musk base. But at the end of the day, as I said before, the hibiscus is the star of the show. At the dry down, you are going to get a bit of vanilla, and you are going to get a very powerful, strong, domineering hibiscus scent, and you are going to get a bit of spiciness because the cinnamon is always in the background of the fragrance. The opening of this fragrance is absolutely glorious, and I'd be curious to know if any of you have picked up this fragrance and tried it on skin, because when trying it on skin, I did get a bit of a difference in the dry down between, of course, my skin and trying it on paper. I haven't really had anybody around me that I could spray this on skin and see what it does on their skin. So I'm curious to know if someone is getting something different. Now, if you're wondering, well, is there a chance that we may get hibiscus mahajat? I just really don't think so, guys, because this to me is so different than hibiscus mahajat. This is really designed, in my opinion, to focus on the hibiscus flower. While hibiscus mahajat has other notes and other dynamics within those notes that create certain accords, and it's just a very, very different experience to my nose. This is a fragrance that I think you could use all seasons throughout the year for any occasion, day or night. I really don't pick up on any oud in this fragrance. So to me, in the oud meter, this is literally like a 0 because I don't pick up any oud. I think this is best suited for 25 plus. And this fragrance has no performance issues whatsoever. On my skin, this fragrance does border on being a beast mode, and it's all about that hibiscus smell. All in all, guys, I think that this is a lovely hibiscus fragrance, and I'm so glad that I have it, because whether it's a niche or a designer or an affordable, I don't have another fragrance in my collection that is quite so hibiscus centric. You know, up until this one, the most hibiscus I had in my collection was truly what you pick up from hibiscus mahajat, which is quite intense. But this one is all about hibiscus. Let me and the rest of the fam know if you've had the opportunity to try this fragrance on skin and your thoughts and experience. I'm really curious because, as I said before, I haven't heard anybody else really talk about it. All right, guys, so the last fragrance that I have for you today is a fragrance that I have been so thoroughly enjoying. And this fragrance is, I don't know if it's a flanker because I really don't think it smells like it. But anyway, I'm talking about the latest from Paris Corner for the Rua line, and it is Radiant Roses. Now, this is another fragrance that I don't think I've seen anybody talk about. And this is a fragrance that is supposed to be, I guess, a flanker to the original Rua, which you guys know I've discussed here on the channel. But I have to tell you, this is very different. I really don't think that this was designed to be a flanker at all. In addition to that, this is supposed to be a fragrance that is inspired by Delina Exclusive. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is not Delina exclusive to me at all. This is a fragrance that is standing on its own. So let me share with you the notes and you'll see what I mean. So at the top, we have bergamot, peach, chocolate, fresh citrus, and lemon. In the middle, we have rose, freesia, magnolia, sweet orange, and floral jasmine. That's how they wrote it, floral jasmine. Then at the base, we have sandalwood, vanilla, sugary, heavy musk. They wrote sugary, heavy musk, and soft, amber, powdery. I don't know, but they wrote that as a note. So what I can tell you about this fragrance is that it does not give me Delina Exclusive or Delina anything. As I said before, to me, this is a brand new fragrance with its own note structure, and it's not inspired by anything because from what I just shared with you, if you're familiar with the Delina Exclusive notes, you know that those are not the notes. But when I smell this fragrance, I'm also not getting Delina Exclusive. Could it be a twist? It would be a far-fetched twist in my opinion, but hey, maybe that's just on my skin. What I can tell you, in case you're wondering, is that this fragrance is very, very different from the original Rua. This is in a league of its own. This is a very floral fragrance where, to my nose, the rose is pretty dominant, but then I also pick up on the magnolia and the jasmine. They're very present all throughout the olfactory journey. It's also a fragrance that, although it has that heavy load of florals, it is sweet and it is kind of fresh, but not fresh in like a summer fragrance kind of way. This is a fragrance that I think is perfect to transition you from those warm weather months where, you know, there's still days where we get warm weather, and then most of the days now are really cooler. And from here on, it's just going to get cooler and cooler. I think this is the perfect fragrance to transition you into full fall weather kind of days. But this is a fragrance that does have, as I said before, quite a bit of florals. And in my opinion, not only do you have to be into rose, but you really have to be into magnolia and into jasmine, because those three are pretty dominant all throughout the olfactory journey and at the dry down. At the dry down, you are going to get like a creaminess that I know is coming from the sandalwood, and you are going to get a tad bit of vanilla. But the vanilla is truly a faint vanilla, because this fragrance is not about the vanilla. It's not about any other note but those florals. At the dry down, it's also quite musky and powdery, but the powderiness is not heavy. The muskiness is definitely very present along with the florals, and the powderiness is like truly at the dry down, and it's a very light powdery. But at the end of the day, guys, this is a fragrance that I've really, really enjoyed. I think this is a very different and lovely fragrance, and I would love to know if any of you have tried this fragrance, because I'm really impressed. You know, when I first received it, I looked at it and I thought, oh my goodness, this is a flanker to Rua. Let's see, you know, what notes did they add? How did they make it different? But no, this is a fragrance that, to me, to my nose, truly stands on its own. So in case you're still wondering, how does it really compare to a Delina Exclusive, since it's being said that this was inspired by Delina Exclusive? So let me just tell you that, to my nose, to begin with, the opening of this fragrance versus Delina Exclusive is so different. I can't even, right? Because for me, at least to my nose, Delina Exclusive opens up very, very fruity, with a very dominant lychee and pear and grapefruit, very, very fruity. While this one, to my nose, does not open fruity at all. It brings me into those florals like immediately. In addition to that, in Delina, I do find a bit of smokiness and some oud, where here I'm not picking up on oud at all, which brings me to the oud meter, which would be, at least to my nose, 0. I'm not picking up on any oud in this fragrance. This is also, to me, a fragrance that is really feminine. I don't think that this is unisex at all. I can't imagine seeing a man wearing this fragrance. Like, I just don't think that this is masculine at all. But of course, you can wear whatever you want. But this is truly, to my nose, a feminine fragrance and best suited for 25 plus. This is also a fragrance that I think is great for any season. I would question or be a bit cautious around the winter months, because I think this is best for like spring, on a summer, not so hot day, and definitely the fall. I think this is just perfection for the fall, but that's just my opinion. The performance of this fragrance is really good. it's not as good as the others because tops I only get 7 hours out of this fragrance on skin, and I do get a moderate projection and a moderate sillage. The funny thing is that this fragrance did get me one compliment the first time I used it out of the house, and it is a fragrance that does project well during the first half hour, but then after that it's a bit demure. So to me it's really more of a moderate projection with a moderate sillage, but at the end of the day it does have good performance. This fragrance is one that did give me a feel, because what I get from this fragrance is this is a fragrance for that female that is always on the go. You know, someone who has a lot on their plate and goes around like with a big tote because they have almost their entire life in that tote because they don't have time to breathe during the day. They'll just really spray themselves in the morning with this fragrance and just go for the rest of the day, and then maybe have a decant in their tote that they can reapply maybe around 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. towards the end of the day, and just keep going to whatever other activities they have scheduled for that day. But this is like an on-the-go type of female. At least that's the feel that I get from it. It's a very, to me, easy reach and versatile fragrance. So I think that this is really a lovely fragrance, and I think that this is not, again guys, a flanker of Rua. So if you love the original Rua, I think you should first get your nose on this one. Or if you're going to pick it up, just know that it is a very good fragrance, but it is really, in my opinion, not a flanker of Rua. Let us know if you've tried this fragrance and your thoughts on it. Alright guys, so before we end today's video, a couple of fan members have reached out to me to ask me, you know, what are some of the fragrances that I highly recommend for the fall? And the fragrances that I shared with you today are fragrances that I think are great for the fall and would be very good additions to your Middle Eastern fragrances collection. But I have to tell you that I have 3 fragrances. I have more. Well, let's see how many I get through. But there are certain fragrances that, oh my goodness, I'm going to have them in my collection forever because I think they are just exceptional for this season and for other seasons too. But I'm just saying that for this season, they're really good. And the first one would be Mirage Exclusive. And I have a video where I talk about this fragrance in detail. So you may just want to enter this in my channel page, and it'll bring you to the video where I really do a detailed review of this one because it is really, really good. The next one that I want to highly recommend for the fall and winter season, and actually all throughout the year, is this beauty from Latafa, which is, I still can't get the pronunciation right, but Sair or Sir, I don't know guys, but what I can tell you is you all recognize this bottle really well, and this is an incredible vanilla fragrance, and this to me smells exactly like Vanilla Sex from Tom Ford, and the more it macerates, the more I'm convinced that that's what it was inspired by. But the performance is exceptional, and to my nose and on my skin, it is richer than Vanilla Sex from Tom Ford. The next one that I want to share with you is definitely, oh my goodness guys, Rifakat, which is really supposed to be inspired by YSL's Baby Cat, but to me it's more of a mix of like Baby Cat and Ganymede from Marc-Antoine Barrios. Oh my goodness, this fragrance is just everything for the fall season. Anyway, guys, I just wanted to share with you those 3 fragrances. I have many others that I would love to talk about, but I will save that for another video on Middle Eastern fragrances. Probably next week, I will be sharing with you quite a number of fragrances that I recommend for my collection for the fall and winter season, as there are so many lovely fragrances. But for today, I hope you enjoyed my sharing with you those 5 new fragrances. They're all, of course, 2024 launches and fragrances that I think would be a great addition to your collection. As always, guys, thank you so much for hanging with me, and I will see you all in the next video.